This is LSAT Prep Test 148, Section 2, Passage 1. This is a philosophy passage laying out John Rawls' theory of justice. Now, it reads like a clean, friendly explainer, and that's exactly why students mess it up. The difficulty level is actually medium. The passage builds Rawls' theory from the ground up, brick by brick. It starts with what's wrong with utilitarianism, then walks you through Rawls' alternative. But this is not a neutral summary. The author is on board with Rawls for most of the ride, then quietly gets off near the end. And if you miss the exit, you're going to get the hardest questions wrong. Now, the most important paragraph here is the last one. We're going to build up to that. Paragraph 1 is doing one job, making you feel why we need Rawls in the first place. It gives you utilitarianism, makes it sound sensible for about 2 seconds, then drops an example about executing an innocent person to keep a mob happy. And that example is the engine of the whole passage. Without it, Rawls' theory has no urgency. The author needs you to be disgusted by utilitarianism so that everything Rawls offers afterwards feels like a rescue. You want to move through this at a pretty steady pace. Don't get hung up on the quote near the end of the paragraph. It's just the same flaw restated in Rawls' own words. Now, paragraph 2 is only a few lines, but it's doing the heaviest structural work in the passage. This is where Rawls' big idea lands. Fair procedure equals justice. That is the entire foundation. Everything after this paragraph is just building on top of that one claim. You want to slow down here. If you skim past it, paragraphs 3 and 4 are going to feel like random examples instead of a connected argument. Now, paragraph 3 is the cake analogy. 5 kids, 1 cake. The cutter doesn't know who gets which slice. So the cutter plays it safe and divides equally. You could speed up here because the paragraph exists to make paragraph 2 feel intuitive. The concept is what matters. Don't memorize the details of the example. Just understand what it proves. If you remove biased information, you get a fair result. Then paragraph 4 scales that same idea up. Now, instead of kids and cake, you've got people designing an entire society. Now, they don't know where they're going to land in it. They don't know if they're going to be rich or poor, talented or struggling, so they build a system where the worst position is still livable. This is still Rawls' voice, not the author's. You are hearing a theory being presented, not being endorsed. Now, you want to keep that distinction sharp in your head. Read at the same pace as paragraph 3. It's the same logic, just bigger. Now, paragraph 5. That is where skimming is going to cost you points. It starts with primary goods, rights, liberties, opportunities, income, wealth. The stuff Rawls says everybody needs regardless of their personal goals. That part is still explanation. But then you hit the word unfortunately, and you want to stop there. That single word is the author stepping out from behind the description and giving you an opinion for the first time. Everything before it was setup. Everything after it is judgment. The author is telling you Rawls' system is inherently redistributionist. Primary goods aren't things people are born with. If someone doesn't have them, someone else has to pay. And the passage ends right there. No defense of Rawls, no rebuttal, just the cost hanging there in the air. Now, the key move is that shift at the bottom of paragraph 5. 4 paragraphs of what looks like approval, then one word flips the lens. The test writers are going to build their hardest questions around whether you caught it. Now, here is the pattern running through the whole passage. Each paragraph hands off to the next like a relay. Utilitarianism fails, so we need a fair procedure. Fair procedure needs a method, so here is the veil of ignorance. The veil needs a bigger version, so here is the original position. The original position produces demands, so here are primary goods. And primary goods create a cost. It is a chain. Each link makes the next one feel inevitable. And that chain is what makes the final criticism land so hard. You've been nodding along for 4 paragraphs, and then the author tells you the destination has a price tag. Now, the author's stance is sympathetic to Rawls through most of the passage, but critical at the end. They think the theory sounds elegant, but has a real cost baked in, forced redistribution. Most students will read this as a straight summary with no opinion, and that is the trap. If you see a choice that says the author presents Rawls' theory without evaluation, that's wrong. And it's going to be tempting because 90% of the passage does feel neutral. But that last paragraph changes everything. Now, before you hit the questions, you want to make sure you're solid on 3 things. First, where exactly does the author stop explaining and start evaluating? Second, why does the passage front load that ugly utilitarian example before getting to Rawls? And third, what specific problem does the author see in Rawls' system? Not a vague objection, but the concrete cost named in that final paragraph.